Centennial Canada, produced by Imperial Oil as a contribution to Canada's Centennial Year celebrations, and to show you some of the plans, projects, and progress of the provinces at the nation's century mark. Beyond the last plowed section, there is still a Manitoba of frontiers, endlessly receding into lakes and forests. But in the sprawling cradle days of Canada, it was the fringed edge of prairie that drew pioneers from every corner of the world. Their first shelters are recreated for Centennial Year by the Manitoba Mennonite community at Steinbeck. When completed, the Pioneer Village and Museum will encapsulate the years of struggle, the early years when the old Countess of Dufferin steamed into Fort Garry with the first builders of the city that all roads run to, the city that gathers, sorts, and speeds goods and people on their way across Canada. Winnipeg, capital of Manitoba, cosmopolitan crossroads of Canada. If you stand at Portage in Maine, you can see sturdy Scottish faces, the legacy of the original Selkirk settlers. And mingled with them, the strong features of the descendants of others who traveled half the world to find a home in Winnipeg. In the heart of Winnipeg, the provincial Centennial Project is coming off the blueprints. These solid foundations are the skeleton for a complete and vital new civic center to serve the people and the remarkable performing artists of the province. Companies recognized throughout the nation: the Manitoba Theatre Center, the Royal Winnipeg Ballet, and the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. And the complex is complete with planetarium for this province with an eye to the future. And there's plenty of excitement planned for the near future. One of Manitoba's many Centennial Year events is the Pan American Games, to be held in Winnipeg in July, a spectacle to attract sport fans from all over the world. No matter where you visit, you'll feel at home in Manitoba, with its many heritages blending to create the vital, friendly people whom Premier Duff Roblin salutes in his centennial message.
Manitoba, over the past century, has become home for people from all over the world. They brought many special talents and skills and cultural achievements to our province. Over the years, our varied heritages have combined to create the new Canadian citizen, the kind of person who has made Manitoba vigorous and sound and progressive. But of all the many riches that nature has bestowed on Canada, it is important to remember our human resources are the most valuable.
Centennial Canada, a profile of the nation on the occasion of our 100th birthday.
I would have to say that they all support the idea. I would say that. Some of them didn't figure it would work, eh? Some of the big companies said, we'll break them with 25-cent buggers. Well, they couldn't break anybody that was already broke all their lives, you know. This is the way we looked at it. We said, well, you can't break us anyway, we're already broke, and we didn't know anything else. So there's only one way we can go, and that's up. So that's the way we figured on this operation too, which certainly came out to be the truth.
People survive by working together. The population of just over 100 people are close neighbors on this small island, and being mostly fishermen, work in close cooperation. Matheson Island is on Lake Winnipeg, 90 miles north of Gimli. To live there, you have to be pretty hardy and maybe a little stubborn. Crossing the channel to the island creates plenty of excitement for the average visitor. But for the islander, the lake is a major part of everyday life, and it doesn't stop him from getting business done. Matheson Island has always been a fishing community. In 1970, Lake Winnipeg was closed to commercial fishing on account of the high mercury content. The fishermen got compensation payments, but ended up with a lot of time on their hands. They weren't prepared to sit around all year, so they got to work on the practical needs of their own community. There was work to be done on the island, and for a start, the people were about ready for some new homes. Some of the houses had survived from the original settlers. Many others were falling apart in this harsh Manitoba climate. Remote location and high costs of supplies and transportation had kept people from building. Around this time, a Northern Affairs Community Council was elected to bring local government to the island.
I'm not sure whether it was Abitibi or the Mines and Natural Resources at the time.
We had the biggest quota here.
The council sized up the situation of poor housing, along with a few available resources, and decided to buy a sawmill.
When this council was formed, we got a couple of $1,000 in the bank, $2,400 I believe it was. That was the very first chance that we ever had as a community to have any money belonging to the community. This is when we decided then to buy a sawmill. It was resolutions that this council made that I and the councillors, Russell and all of his councillors at the time, went in to look over a sawmill and bought one. We knew it was badly in need of homes. The old homes weren't going to last much longer. They were just about finished. So it started from there. We cost shared with Northern Affairs on the sawmill, and which cost us around $1,500 delivered year. And we started sawing, and all these new homes came out of that.
The four of us guys went into Riverton and picked up the mill and brought it out here, and 14 of us put it on the sleigh and brought it across in 5 days. We had sawing lumber 3,000 feet a day. We started sawing here, and I learned all my sawing mostly here, getting more every day.
Islanders sawed their own logs and sold lumber to the residents at $25 a thousand. This covered costs of fuel and maintenance. With this lumber, they built new houses for themselves. The men had only limited experience in construction, so they got together and helped each other on the more critical aspects of building a house.
Got the gravel there, and they said we were ready to pour, and everybody came and started pouring the footing there, and poured them all in one day, and then when they started putting up the rafters and that, they all helped one another. Cost nothing.
So it's kind of like an old-time building bee.
Yeah, well, they talk about Mennonites working together, so I guess we followed in behind them doing the same thing.
On all the homes, I can say there's been no labor paid because everybody's helped one another, and the new homes all over the country seem to cost one hell of a pile of money for labor, and we're doing away with that, using the sand that's available on the island and building foundations and so on. Our own lumber really brings the price of a house way down. So they're building bigger homes, I think, and better homes than any place I see all over all the other communities.
Along with the building of new homes, older houses are being repaired and renovated to qualify practically as new ones. The people of Matheson Island are living as comfortably as city people, and above all, they're owning mortgage-free homes.
It seemed to me that as soon as the first people started the house, that they used all their money putting it into that house. Before that, when you didn't have too much a place to put your money, it seemed to went spread all over. But as soon as the house got started, they seemed to use every cent that they got, every cent they made into the home, which made a hell of a difference. There was some place to put it, because we usually don't end up putting it in the bank. We usually put it someplace else, sometimes in the Riverton beer parlor, which is not very good. But this time it went into, these last few years, it seems to went into the homes, and really made a big difference on that kind of a situation, Bob.
Did people start the houses with money in their pockets, Mr. Carlson?
I didn't have very much. I had enough to make a down payment on the doors and windows, and a few dollars besides. Outside of that, I didn't have anything until they come and paid the compensation on the fishing. Well, I kept track of every pound and nail and everything went in my house, and it cost me $7,000 now. The way it's setting, but I just bought material that I could afford it. I never borrowed any money. I got a little help on my windows and doors through Northerners. But all the rest I bought that from.
What all do you have in your house?
Oh, I got 3 bedrooms, bathroom not completed, living room, kitchen, cupboards in it.
Oil heat,
Oil heat, yeah.
waterworks.
Waterworks, septic system.
Full basement too?
Yeah, full basement. Well, like I say, total cost was a little over $6,000. That's 2 bedrooms, bath, kitchen and living room, and porch or back shed. And then there's water and sewage.
What is the construction of housing in this way meant to the families in the community, the women and families in general?
Oh, I think they're all pretty happy about it. They've got comfortable homes, and they're as modern. A lot of them are, as modern as city home. I'm sure they're all happy with them.
Russell, what does your wife had to say about, things since you decided to go ahead and build a new house?
When I started that, she said, what are you making such a small house for? But now when she started to clean it up, she says, it's too big.
The people of the island recall they had to present a good case for getting logs for the mill. Much of the prime timber had already been harvested by commercial logging operations. Much of what remained was committed to these companies for future years under the quota system. But the community council was able to make their case, getting cutting rights for that first winter and for each year since then.
It's a son of a gun when you have to buy lumber from BC to build out in these areas, which is happening quite a few, because of the lumber companies got places tied up. There's no available timber. And we hope that what is available around here now, that the government sees fit to hold it for the internal use of the community, not going into no big operation, because there's not enough left for that anyway, for a commercial operation, but for the internal use of the community. we needed quite a bit of timber. We thought after our first 2 or 3 years of sawing that we'd have lots of lumber, but we find out that we're every year we're sawing and everybody's building new things. They're building net houses, they're building docks, they're building, well, you name it. And it seems that we're going to need lumber, seeing we got this mill here for forever. We're going to keep on building.
The decision to buy a sawmill was highly practical. The mill helped them get building materials for next to nothing. Rather than spending available grants on make-work schemes, they put the money to work for themselves. They used all the grant to provide small living allowances for the men while working on the logging and sawmill operation.
We're getting one hell of a lot of money out of the $3,000 or $4,000 PEP operation that we would never have got if we didn't have a sawmill. It's really boosting us way sky high, because we're using all that as for building for ourselves, you know. And a lot of the other communities where they have to buy 40% of the lumber from some other place, it really knocks the operation to hell, really.
Matheson Island was successful for several reasons. The people clearly evaluated their situation. Through effective organization and persistence, they managed to get local resources to meet their practical needs. With the community council, the people created their own self-government. Through experience, the councilors became competent leaders.
At the time, things were pretty tough, so, you know, I guess for a few of us, we didn't really think it would work, but I'm sure glad it did work out the way it did.
Some didn't figure it would work, eh? But to let everybody have his own idea, eh? And but one thing I can say for the people on the island, there's not one of them said it'll never work, even though they had their own thoughts, you know. But maybe we even had in our own, the ones that was trying to do it, and maybe it'll never work, but we thought we better go ahead. We couldn't lose anyway. You can't get any lower than we were, probably. And this is like I said, when our co-op was starting, some of the big companies said, we'll break them, the 25-cent buggers. Well, they couldn't break anybody that was already broke all their lives, you know. This is the way we looked at it. We said, well, you can't break us anyway, we're already broke, and we didn't know anything else. So there's only one way we can go, and that's up. So that's the way we figured on this operation too, which certainly came out to be the truth.
Working together was nothing new to the islanders, and the experience of their fishing co-op was intensified with the logging and sawmill operation. Throughout the whole project, there was cooperation. The Matheson Island Housing Project began with people working together, and now they just can't stop building.
We're talking about after we had the mill for 3 years, we would sell it, but it looks like that we're going to keep on sawing and keep on building till we have a real, we'll call it Madison City pretty soon, I think.